It's Just Business with Steve Thomas and your host, Chris Larry.
Hello and welcome to another episode of It's Just Business on the Hog Stye Network, the show where we look at the dollars and cents of the media business, media, sports, media, business, all of those words. I'm just babbling it out at this point, Steve. How are you doing?
I'm doing. We babble every other.
I know
week.
I didn't have a good. I usually am very good free jazzing that, but that one didn't.
Well,
work
you
out.
didn't really. We went right from pre-planning to 2 seconds
Right?
later.
Yeah. I shouldn't have taken a breath. Breathe, breathe. People remember to breathe.
It's fine. Yeah, our third cast member is sitting here beside me. He is sleeping, but he's sleeping with his head on the windowsill. So as soon as a dog walks by, he will chime in, I think, appropriately. But all is well. How about you? Anything
Fine.
new and exciting?
No, football season kicking off. That's about as exciting as it gets.
Are you a fantasy guy?
Oh yeah, I'm at my high water mark this year. 4 teams. I've never done 4 teams.
I do not have time in my life to have a job, run the hog sty, write for the hog sty, deal with the dog, and run a fantasy team. And the other thing, it's not so much now, but it used to bother me that I'd have to have non-Redskins players to root for, on fantasy. And I don't, since my fandom's kind of waned, I would do it now, but I don't have time for it. I don't know how you do to run 4 fantasy teams because you're not running a website. So
yeah, I mean, I have other things to fill my time. I shouldn't be running 4 fantasy teams. I'm not saying that this was either smart, healthy, or
it's a lot.
well spent.
Are all of these for money or
they're all for they're for
change?
Yes, basically. No, the problem is, and including with the reason I added my 4th one, was that these are all there are family and friends that this is one of the main ways we keep connected to. So the end, 2 of the leagues are 25 years plus. So they're long-standing things. And then I would you at 3, and then the 3rd one was just a similar group of friends and it was just unique rule sets and stuff. So I wanted to do it, because I am a nerd. But the 4th one was my old high school friends who we reconnected. So how could I say no to that one?
You've reconnected with high school friends?
Yeah, Steve, I roll deep. I keep people back. I got kids I knew in the 9th and 10th grade I'm still regular talking to.
Yeah, but are they all in the New York area though?
No. They're all over the country. Yeah, they're all over the country.
Because you were originally from DC, correct?
Yeah, Northern Virginia, baby, Nova.
See, I lived all over the country, so but I am also, as you might suspect, not one to keep up with people from 8th grade.
No, so it is a good connective tissue to those folks. It's probably my number one reason to do it here as a 53-year-old man in 2025.
I respect that somewhat, but I know, it's all I can do to do the March Madness tournament, really, and keep up with it.
I'm pretty exhausted by the time that rolls around, but I will say that thank you, Dan Snyder, because sort of similar to what you said, he was made rooting for my team, which I never gave up on. So I am loyal to a fault, but made it so unfun that I was able to adopt fantasy football much easier because Snyder was such a joke, and I knew he was such a joke before most of you. And so it made the ability to root for other players exponentially easier.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but I never could draft a Cowboy.
Oh, you know what? I still don't have. I don't have Cowboy. My desire to win has allowed Eagles and Giants in, but I still have a no Cowboys rule.
If I was to do it now, I would just draft whoever.
The Cowboys. I still can't have a Cowboy.
I don't hate them like I used to.
Ugh, I still hate them. I hate them more for cultural reasons at this point.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's the same as kind of Yankees fans, and
right, yeah. It's more like that than it is the.
I mean, I'm a diehard, lifelong Laker fan, but I understand that the Lakers fall into that category too for a lot of people because there's a lot of bandwagoners.
We didn't plan to talk about this, but
I was a Laker fan.
Oh, right.
Not with LeBron,
but did you see the valuation just came out for the Cowboys? It's like
it was 10 million, right?
Yes, billion, but yes. And in
like
fact, I think it was
10.5
closer to
billion or something like
11.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And the Harris Group's already made 1.8 billion on their investment. What was that, 2.5 years ago?
Well, they have, it's not cash in the bank, but
No, but I mean, would you
the
take that? Would you
valuation,
take that? Would you take that return?
I'd almost think tempted to sell if I were him.
Right. Or just even if you're like the 24th or 25th guy in there, like what the
Yeah,
hell? Like
because
cash out.
he has a whole list of
Yeah.
investors. Yeah.
Those people are happy. Anywho.
Say what you want about Jerry Jones because he's a strange guy for sure, but that dude is the master of marketing. He
Yeah,
really
no,
is.
he built an empire.
But
He
did you
he
realize that the CBA has specific carve outs just for the Cowboys for shared marketing income?
I did know that, yeah.
Very few people do. I think I've probably mentioned that on the show before.
No, he is very much an architect of the modern NFL.
Yes, like it or not, you can Washington fans can hate him or whatever, but he is.
Now he may destroy his legacy before it's said and done, but he
Now,
built it.
why? Well, I mean, you're going to trade a Hall of Famer? I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And a future Hall of Famer, Micah Parsons in his prime, that makes no sense to me.
He looked asleep every time they cut to him on Thursday night. I was like, is he asleep every time they cut to him? I was like, is he nodding off?
Well, either that or he's dead.
Yeah, right.
He had a heart
Right,
attack.
the weekend of Bernie's memes. Yeah, fire them up.
Kobe's
All right.
chiming in, by the
Yeah,
way.
he's like,
Kobe
get
agrees.
on to Kawhi Leonard. There you go. He's very, very worked up about this. So this week, kind of a fascinating sports story that's a little bit outside of our norm, stuff we get bored talking about at this point. It appears that the LA Clippers used some bizarre shell company and real mob tactics about how to pay people by making Kawhi Leonard a shadow employee to the town, $25 million, something around in that neighborhood. And the NBA is now investigating and has some heavy hitters investigating this to see if this was a way that they circumvented the salary cap.
Honestly, I mean, Steve Ballmer should know better than this. This is just an incredibly dumb thing to do. So this story is all over the place, but what I'm reading from is Kawhi Leonard, a story by Yahoo Sports. Kawhi Leonard reportedly paid $28 million for a no-show job with Clippers as way to get around salary cap. NFL investigating by Chris Quick, who we have done stories from him before September 3rd. And so here's the thing. He in the timeline of this is a bit up in the air, and the timeline is Ballmer's argument. But so there's a company that's now bankrupt called Aspiration, which is a tree planting service funded by Steve Ballmer. And Aspiration entered into this $28 million agreement with a company called KL2 Aspire LLC, which is probably Kawhi Leonard's marketing company. But clearly it is. And now Ballmer's the owner of the Clippers, and what Ballmer is saying is this agreement was done before he bought into Aspiration, and so therefore don't blame me, for it. And it was done in conjunction with the 2024 extension Kawhi Leonard got. And again, he's saying that this thing was done before the extension, but there's some damning evidence in here that tells us all that Steve Ballmer is a liar. And that evidence is that there's some provisions in this contract that say that Leonard does not have to perform. He can refuse to do any part of the contract of the contract requirements. And it says that he must remain a Clipper in order for the contract to be in existence. So Steve Ballmer's lying. Even if the timeline Ballmer is talking about is legit, this has Ballmer written all over it. Clearly, this is pre-negotiated, and it's a setup, and it's his attempt to get around the salary cap. Now, the CBA says you can't do this. The CBA says you can't give contracts out to players outside of the standard player contract in order to avoid the salary cap, which is clearly what they're doing here. So your thoughts?
I was reading an article about this in The Athletic, and there's a couple more details which I think only turn up the heat on the seriousness of this. One is, we got to give our our boy Pablo Torre is broken some pretty massive
Is
sports.
this not the second one in a row from him?
Yes, this is the same guy that did the union NFL Players Association back channel negotiations with the league over the collusion stuff.
Right,
He
right.
broke that. So, and heads rolled, if you might recall, after
Heads are going to
that
roll in
story.
this too.
Yeah, and they've also the league has hired Watchell Lipton, who was the lawyer, his firm probably, was the head investigator legal team on both the Clippers' Donald Sterling and the Phoenix Suns' Robert Sarver cases, which ended up in what? Both owners out of the league. So this
And
is
I don't
the
remember what the Sarver case was. It was some sort of malfeasance by him. That's about all I remember. Now keep
yeah.
talking. I'll look it up because now it's
I
bugging
think I
me.
have it right here actually.
Okay.
Robert Sarver for multiple instances of inappropriate language or behavior, and that was
There you
after
go. That was
both
a
of those
bunch of
stories
like,
came after investigative pieces that led to the investigation. Same lawyer. So the same lawyer that no, we've talked many times, especially in concert to Dan Snyder over the years. It's not easy to oust owners. Harder in the NFL than the other leagues, but still not easy in any of these pro sports leagues. This lawyer, with the backing of the league, has already ousted two.
yeah, and yeah, it's coming back to it. Sarver was gotten accused by misconduct by I think female employees
Yeah,
and stuff. You're right. So this is different, but equally as bad as those other two because this is
and way
a
more offensive to the other owners.
yeah, oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because this is a blatant attempt
This is
and a
stealing
dumb
from the rest of
and a
them.
dumb attempt
Yeah.
to dodge the salary cap. There was no way he was ever going to get clearly this is a setup from the beginning. Okay. And so this, I don't know where this aspiration company came from, but clearly what's happened here is that Ballmer prearranged this with aspiration and said, look, I'm going to, provide you some equity financing, but you have to, but you have to sign Kawhi Leonard first. And we've got to do it in this time frame to make it look like this isn't a complete setup. But the key part, and again, this is where like his lawyers should have told him is when you put in provisions in there that says this only is effective if you're a Clipper and you don't have to actually perform under the agreement. On top of that,
It would
it'd be
only
bad
be
even if you had to perform under the agreement.
it would only be slightly exaggerated if we were to see a performance clause in this contract. Like you get an extra $500,000
If
if
you
you're the
average 20
scoring
points a
champion.
game.
Yeah, whatever, like it would only be slightly more ridiculous than the truth.
Yeah, this is and Ballmer. The thing is, Ballmer hasn't been too terrible of an owner. This is really the first time because Ballmer kind of saved the Clippers. Because if everybody remembers, you mentioned before the Donald Starling story. Donald Starling was one of the all-time worst owners in American sports history. He's up there with Snyder and who's the woman from Marge Schott from the Reds, and
Yeah, he's
he's
on
up there.
any rogues gallery.
Yeah, yeah, it is. But Ballmer was supposed to be the professional, and this one is just this is as about I think this is about as blatant as it gets. No sport allows this. Okay, you can't do this in NFL. You can't do this in baseball. You can't do this in NBA. What you can do in baseball is have AKA Shohei Otani. You can pay these players after the term of the contract, and that's bad enough. But no sport allows you to just have phony baloney extra payments through fake marketing agreements,
No,
because it's a clear dodge.
this is tried and true mafia stuff. I mean, if you even watched a couple of episodes of The Sopranos, that was a regular set piece. Is all of the mafiosos sitting around a construction site in chaise lounges as they collect their pay, and which meant they had to be on site for X amount of days or whatever. That was just like the strip bar and Tony's dining room, right? It was like a regular set piece.
I was not a huge Sopranos fan. I've seen some of them more toward the end. Everyone I watched, it seemed like Tony Soprano was killing somebody. I mean, that see every episode I saw, either he was doing it himself or he was having somebody kill somebody. Um, I tried to start it again the other I don't know a few months ago, and I don't know, it didn't really hook me. A show needs to hook me from moment one, otherwise I don't know, it didn't really grab me for some reason. It's the same as Seinfeld. Like Seinfeld never grabbed me, but anyway, okay, I can't think of another blatant situation like this.
Well, that actually, and I don't have it right in front of me, but I think, and there is precedent here. Now you have to go back. I think 2020 or early, no, not sorry, 2020, early 2000s. Joe Douglas got caught up in something like this, and I think there's one other player that they had some. I don't think it was as like connect the dots as in A equals B as this one seems to be, but I think Joe Douglas and there was one other player that I think between Joe Douglas and now. What's interesting here, and this is a probable outcome, I would call it, is that in the end, all the two players in precedent got their contracts voided and became free agents, and I think it's probable the real beneficiary here is Kawhi Leonard, who may have to pay a fine, but probably becomes a free agent.
Well, yeah, that was exactly. I'm glad you went this way because this is exactly what my next point in the story is going. What's going to happen to Kawhi Leonard? I think they have to invalidate the
I
contract.
mean, I don't see. Yeah,
You have to.
the athletic article the athletic article has, so as per section article blah blah blah, and penalties within the section that covers salary cap circumvention, any team that violates league rules for a second time, which the Clippers have, they've got one on the books, as well as the player, could face the following outcomes after their case goes to appeals: a fine of up to 7.5 million, whatever. Steve Ballmer's worth 153. It's Microsoft money, but remember, the direct forfeiture of draft picks, so some draft pick penalty, the voiding of the player's contract or any renegotiation, extension, or amendment of a player's contract between such player, and such team. A fine, and then a fine of up to $350,000 for the player, a suspension for up to 1 year of any team personnel found to be basically behind it, who negotiated this deal, and the voiding of any transaction or agreement found to have violated league rules and forced forfeiture of funds received in the deal unless the player establishes by preponderance of the evidence that he was unaware of the violation. So Kawhi
And
Leonard,
he's not going to establish that.
no, Kawhi Leonard's by the rules. And if we think this case is basically a done deal as we think it is, the Kawhi Leonard's going to pay $350,000 for the right to become a free agent.
And teams have no morals, and so somebody's going to sign him to another huge deal.
Oh, that's not even up for debate.
Yeah, I mean the bigger question is what you said earlier, which is, are they going to force Ballmer out of the league?
Right? Yeah. No.
Informally, if nothing else.
Yeah. So
because here's the thing, a guy like Donald Sterling and even Dan Snyder, later, the values of these teams weren't nearly as high back when Sterling bought in the league in the 70s, 80s, and even Snyder, but nowadays these assets are so high or so valuable that just not any moron can buy into it. These are serious business guys with serious teams. You're not going to have even the Clippers are worth what, 5-6 billion, maybe at least.
Oh yeah, I think so.
You're not going to have some idiot like Donald Sterling buy into $5 or $6 billion, and so you can replace Ballmer pretty easily, with someone of, equal or better business acumen. So it's not like they're losing the best, forever, some valuable owner or asset. They're not. They wouldn't be.
No, I mean, he, was the architect CEO of Microsoft, so like
But there's other guys like him out there.
Yeah, no, there is. What I predict probably will happen if I fast forward to the end. I think he will be able to have enough sacrificial layers of culpability where he'll be able to save himself and cauterize everyone else.
Maybe, but right now he's denying everything.
Yeah, I think he's in the line of fire 100%.
He's like Baghdad Bob right now.
Yeah. So no, I think I'm talking 50, 49, 51 type of stuff, but that he skates through.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably so. Because I mean, again, I think the NBA gives him credit for saving the Clippers.
Yes.
Which were a national embarrassment. And if everybody goes back in the Wayback Machine, Donald Sterling was blatantly racist. He was caught on audio being blatantly racist, but more importantly in the audio was like some girlfriend who he was saying horrible things to. But the bigger issue with Sterling wasn't just that. It was that he had he had like sleazy properties that were discriminating against people in horrible parts of LA. and he was just kind of a miserable person in many respects. It wasn't the audio of him saying racist things to that woman was just the icing on the cake, really.
I just think you're so right about the difference between buying a team in like the 90s and
Yeah.
now is just galaxies different. I mean, even like a successful owner, there's not a version of Jerry Buss that buys a pro team in 2025.
Oh no, I mean, as much as I love Jerry Buss for my love of the Lakers back then, he was kind of a joke. I mean, it worked
Yeah,
out because
and
he fell into
scrambling,
Magic.
all these, but all
It worked
these
out because
like
he fell into Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and James Worthy, but it
right.
wasn't. But
But even to just scrounge up the cash, he had to like leverage himself all
yeah,
over the
that would
place.
never work.
Right, you just can't do that now. You can't have like somebody just kind of put together the deal.
Well, the example is Josh Harris.
Right, but with different
Well,
numbers.
yeah, different numbers, but point
No, he
is,
did.
he has a serious investing team. He had to put together, I don't quote me on the number, but like 20 investors or
I think
some.
it's more closer to 30 than 20. And it's still,
Okay.
I think, the largest in terms
Oh,
of
it is.
volume ownership group in the league.
Right. But that's how you buy teams today. You don't throw together a few hundred million, by grabbing you under your couch cushions. That won't
No.
even get you an entrance. That won't even get you a minority stake anymore.
Yeah, totally. So this is we will definitely be talking about this again because I think, there's all kinds of fallout, but
Well, the how long it takes is another question because these leagues always seem to take their time in these kind of investigations. I suspect we won't hear something soon, within weeks. I bet you it'll take them a while. And they probably, if you want me to be cynical, which I'm good at being cynical, I bet you we probably get through the season and then they'll try to bury this in the off season. That would be my guess because the season starts in October.
yeah.
I bet you they will investigate, quote unquote, this mysteriously through June, through the NBA finals, and then do this and then bust this in the off season. That'd be my guess.
I guess it depends on really two things. How well like Steve Ballmer is within that clubhouse of owners in the NBA. And then two, there's going to be a lot of owners licking their chops to be able to add a Kawhi Leonard to their team.
Yeah. And I don't know how well Ballmer is liked or disliked. And Chris isn't really talking about like personally. He's talking about like, how well do they respect his business contributions to the NBA? I don't think any of these owners are people you'd want to like have lunch with, most likely. That's not what
No,
they're
but
talking
they're
about.
constantly assessing whether this person's good for them or bad for them.
Yeah, that's that. But
Yeah.
when Chris says like him, he doesn't mean like he's a
No,
swell guy.
they're not
Yeah.
buddies. Yeah.
No.
Um,
People need to understand that people who are this rich aren't nice, decent people for the most part. It's all they live and breathe this stuff. The very few ones like this I've been around, these guys don't just like sit around and binge watch The Sopranos. That's not what they are. A lot of times horrible to their families. They live and breathe this 24 hours a day, and that's what all these NFL and NBA owners care about.
maybe if Steve Ballmer had binge watched The Sopranos, he would have understood the
Realize what he
of this
did.
scam and how much of a cliche it was that it's used on a popular television show.
It's just not even a very good scam.
No, I mean, and typically in the kind of just like mob way of this, it's not even right. It's not even like a genius scheme, right? It's just a easy way to push papers and move money to get people paid. It's laundering.
See, the genius scheme would have been for him to go to one of his buddies in an totally unconnected company and say, "Look, I need you to get my boy here a decent marketing deal." And have him do a few commercials for the sofa company or whatever, or the soda company or the motorcycle company, and just have it completely disconnected. That would have been the smart way to do it. If you're going to do it, that's what he should have done.
They almost were looks like it almost looks like they were playing it coy because even if you keep all the details as they are, aspiration, blah blah blah, have them shoot some commercials. It said part of the deal I
Yeah.
read one place was that they were then a sponsor in the stadium. So plaster is it wouldn't be that hard to make
Why
it
would you put a provision in the contract that says he doesn't actually have to actually perform in order to collect the money?
Yeah, right, right.
That's not a contract. Okay.
Yeah, right.
I would argue that may not be a contract is a meeting of the minds. for consideration on both sides. And if one person doesn't have to perform, I'd argue maybe you don't have a contract.
I imagine Kawhi was probably like, "You're going to pay me however, and I'm not going to do any work. You figure it out."
Probably, yeah, it might have been that.
Yeah.
But at some point, the owner has to say, "Look, my reputation and the standing of this franchise is more important than
Or
you."
just choke it up and put the 25 million in the contract.
Yes. Well, the problem, of course, is he maybe
Salary cap. But yes, but you can be more creative. You can be more creative than a blatant scam.
Yes. You and I could have come up with a better way to do this in like 15 minutes.
Right. Call the Dodgers.
Exactly. Shohei Ohtani says hello.
Yeah.
And I'm a Dodger fan, and I didn't like that deal.
Right. But at least they're thinking outside the box.
It's not really that outside the box. It's there's a history of this in the Major League Baseball. But to their credit, they stayed within the rules. The rules probably need to change, but they didn't try to dodge the rules.
Right. There's always the gray areas. Didn't the successful ones figure out the gray areas?
Yes.
All right. So the internet is up in arms, Steve. The picket forks are out. Commercials are coming to the red zone. This magical wonderland space that those of us with the secret key have been involved with, I don't know, 15 years now, is being just ruined by the scourge of capitalism onto our magic fairyland of the red zone. And people,
what did you think was going to happen? Can I riddle me this, Batman? What did you think was going to happen when the NFL sold the rights to the red zone to ESPN for a lot of money?
I actually believe, you're going to laugh at me, but I actually believe the league when they say that this actually isn't connected to that and this deal is already signed.
I might believe it too. Fine.
But it actually backs up your meta point, which is like, of course. I mean, well, first of all, when you actually, it's one thing to get outraged. And part of me is outraged, and part of me understands what's going on.
I think your outrage is faux outrage, is what I think.
Talk to me the first time I'm sitting and watching the red zone when I'm.
Dave Earl has already complained about it.
Yeah, so I will get upset, but I'm too level-headed to get my pitchfork fired up. But one thing that did calm me down and was so obvious is that if you're paying attention, they actually rolled this out last year. So So this is and they've already said that we're doing exactly what we did. I think they did the last 4 games or some like last quarter of the season. They rolled this out. So if you're a regular red zone watcher, you're not going to necessarily know. You're going to say, oh yeah, I was already kind of attuned to this because they slow rolled this out last year. Now they're just making it official by saying that is now the policy, not just a test. So it's not, and it's never going to go. These are just keep people level headed. It's never going to go full commercial. You're just talking about getting a commercial in a quadrant box. The thing that I think will actually annoy me, and then thus me as the cipher for all of American football watchers on the red zone, is that the audio will dominate the other boxes. So when the box,
that's called advertisements.
I know, but I'm just saying that's where you're going to notice it, right? Like it's one thing to have it in a box. It's another thing when you're like following the audio action. Or Scott Hansen, who's a megastar, he just got signed, so everyone loves Scott Hansen. That's one of the big draws. So you're going to get less of him narrating the games, which is a huge plus, and you're going to hear Pizza Hut for 30 seconds. That's where you'll know. I'm just saying that's where the intrusion will be the clearest.
Well, first of all, I think it's 15 seconds. But so, by the way, a story there, again, this is a lot of stories, but where we saw it first was CNBC, a story called NBC Touts Record. I think I'm on the wrong story here. Hold on. I pulled up the wrong Red Zone story, unfortunately. Let's see here. Oh, here it is. Red Zone. Okay. This is Front Office Sports. Sorry about that. NFL says Red Zone will have incredibly small ad load amid Furor by Daniel Roberts and David Rumsey, dated September 4th. And so, and I believe this, it says there will be 4 15-second ads in the 7-hour edition of Red Zone in week 1. A source tells Front Office Sports. That could change later in the season. So this is not a full 3.5 minute commercial break where they're breaking away from the action. This is 4 15-second ads, and that's it. But again, this is inevitable. Now, I mean, I'm too cheap to have to subscribe to RedZone. I've said that forever. So I've never really watched it. Not never really, never period have watched it, but I don't get it. I don't get what the complaint is. I mean, everybody can live with a 15-second Pizza Hut ad. It's not that important.
If you
And,
know,
and again, this is more importantly, it's like from a business standpoint, they're going to maximize their revenue. Whether the money goes to NFL or ESPN, they want to maximize the revenue, and I don't blame them.
this is why I was only half kidding when I said it was a magic fairyland. You have to know, and that's not a critique, Steve. I'm just saying, like, you could, you felt like they were. Here's the thing: you felt like you were cheating the man, right? You like all the thing. It's all it's just business for decade plus. You escaped the commercial dominance of an NFL broadcast while keeping up with all the games. So it was like, so it's like, it is like the intrusion into your magic kingdom. And it's amazing that to your point, it's amazing this got away with it as long as it did.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
So, but that's what I'm saying. So that's like the bubble bursting has extra effect because like you almost like, like what? They're finally coming for us, right? Like they finally discovered us. Our secret is out.
If nothing else, I'm surprised they didn't run like a scroll of a Pepsi ad on the
They
bottom
did.
or
I
something.
mean, you got some, and like it's just what really is. I have two things. One, and this is the slow boiled frog situation, right? They've been ads and
Are you
messages.
advocating for boiling frogs alive?
No, I'm just saying that
Okay.
we RedZone people are frogs because they've been introducing these things for a while now, and it was
I think this
obviously
is fake
coming.
outrage, honestly. From sounds like from what you're saying, and people see it. If they started this last year, nobody cared. Now people care because there's been a few media
Well, my
stories about
second
it.
point here, from a business standpoint, is this is a really crappy rollout of this. Like it really was the messaging is worse than the decision.
I don't really think they needed to say anything, to be
They
honest,
probably didn't have to, right? They
and
could have
nobody would have cared.
just turned on the thing they did in the last quarter of the season for the full
So
year.
you might have had some tweets that said, "Hey, why are there ads on Red
Right.
Zone?" And then that would have been it. But by highlighting it, they're sort of highlighting the bad.
And having not a real good story to tell about it, right?
Yeah.
And not even seeming to factor in the ESPN-ness of it all. So like, which is only like a week old, 10 days old story off
Yeah.
the
Now
back of
you
it.
said it. Yeah, you said it in the beginning. So, but this story, the front office sports story, says that the NFL claims that this was set up before the ESPN purchase. And just to be clear, the purchase is that the NFL sold the name Red
It's a
Zone.
licensing deal.
Yeah, you're right. And ESPN can broadcast, but the NFL will still produce the content on the NFL Network and Red Zone, and then the NFL broadcasts it. And so I suspect, and this deal is not closed, by the way. This is what when we were talking about this deal, it sounds like it's an agreement.
They have agreed. Now all these regulatory bodies have to push it
Yes. Well,
forward.
I don't know how many of the contracts have been signed and whatnot. It's not a done deal, is the point. But I suspect probably that the NFL will continue to hold title to the actual asset itself. And this is, like you said, this is just going to end up just being a licensing agreement, a serious and long term licensing agreement.
Yes, that definitely has teeth, but I don't know if it doesn't.
All of this says like details, newsflash, the NFL wants to make more money. Details at 11.
Right.
This is
Yes.
not a story. To me, this is a story that's not a story. And it's more funny to me that people are outraged, especially I didn't even realize they did this last year. Like nobody noticed. Like you just said it now, and
We
not
were
one
boiled
person
frogs.
noticed it. Yeah. But now that there's been a story, I think you made a really good point. The rollout is worse than the actual problem.
Yes, and so like the sloppiness of it gets was like just rage bait.
Yeah. Don't say anything. Just do it. You didn't need to make a big announcement.
Right. Because everyone, the headline for every article, which is, commercials coming to Red Zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just don't say it.
Yeah. So, good job there. Now, uh, all these things have effect on people who live within the legal bounds of broadcasting of live sporting
Uh
events.
oh.
Um,
Uh
so,
oh.
so the illegal distribution and thus viewing globally of the NFL and many other sports, because I'm sure international football drives a bunch of these streams as well. The major site, the sort of mothership of illegal sports streaming around the globe, has been shut down.
Yeah. So, and Chris, I'm gonna have to get you to cite the story because I'm locked out of this, but it's an athletic New York Times story. So, do you have it up? You can read them, the byline of it.
Sure, I'll get it.
Well, while we're waiting, so the point here is that Streameast is dead. That is the point.
All right, here we go. Streameast.
It's Streameast. Yeah.
Okay, it's a weird title or name. World's largest illegal sports streaming platform shut down in Sting. Adam Leventhal from the Athletic on September 3rd.
Okay, so Streameast, I've used it. Streameast hacked into all of the broadcasts for essentially every major sport around the globe: baseball, football, soccer, hockey, everything you could think of. And it broadcasts from, on like 15 different mirror sites, with slightly different names and whatnot. And what has happened here, and Chris will give the name of the collective because, again, I can't, or the name of the entity because I can't access the story anymore. What is the name, Chris?
It is, I have it right here in front of me. It is the Alliance for Creativity and Entertainment with the acronym ACE.
There you go.
And they're
ACE.
basically their rights. It's a conglomeration of rights holders that have been, the big boys, everyone, the Amazons, the Apples, the Disneys, the BBC studios, the Netflix, the real power players of IP content control basically come together and create a private police force to go after these kinds of things. So it was driven by this ACE.
Yeah. So the interesting part is the story said that this site was created by a couple of Egyptians.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was Egyptian based.
No, I think nobody really knew it was based. I think we all knew it was overseas because you're not going to get away with this in the United States for very long. And by the way, this is not new. Okay. There's several of these type of sites, and periodically they all get shut down.
Yeah.
There was another one I used to go to that now what it says is shut down by order of the FCC. Or the FTC or FCC or something. So it's not exactly new. And I mean, obviously the business implication here is that all these leagues want to protect their IP. They don't want, people to access their IP for free. And that's hence the reason for the formation of ACE. And by the way, so I thought the funny part of the story is that apparently LeBron James was caught on camera on the sidelines of a Laker game watching some other basketball game on Streameast on his phone. It's like, congratulations for not paying attention, to LeBron James. That's the most LeBron James thing ever, pretty much. And I don't know if that was the genesis behind the investigation or not. I tend to doubt it because, again, this Streameast was like a hidden secret. Like, everybody who knew about Streameast, just nobody talked about it, and now it's gone.
Yeah, totally. I mean, anything. I mean, there's always a black market for a big market, right? Like that's just a rule of capitalism. It's probably even, Adam Smith even commented on it to some degree, that there's always going to be an alternative black illegal side market to successful markets. So that's essentially what this is, and there will be another.
Yeah, and Kobe's very offended by the fact that Streameast is gone. He was a fan of it, for those of you heard. He didn't realize before this moment that Streameast was gone, and that's, hence the reason for the barking. But yeah, I mean, look, this is not.
They were averaging 136 million viewers a month.
I didn't know it was that big.
Yeah. Because you got to figure this is global, right? This is soccer. This is cricket plus all the U.S. sports. I mean, this is everything.
I don't think Americans really understand how big cricket is.
It's massive.
Yeah, it's massive. In other parts of the world, because nobody cares about soccer in the United States, and nobody cares about pickleball. But those are two things are huge, 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 massive. And so it's a lot of to me, the story isn't that Streameast got shut down. To me, the story is that there's an organization called ACE, the Alliance for what was it called again?
Let me go back to the page. The Alliance for Creativity and Entertainment. So
that's the bigger story, that there is an alliance out here of entertainment assets that has the resources to either pursue themselves or to get law enforcement to pursue people like this. And you can catch somebody in Egypt. It'd be one thing if these people were in like St. Louis, which is why they're not, because it's
or
pretty
even Latvia.
Yes.
It'll be easier than Egypt.
Yeah. But Egypt is, Muslim countries. For those of you, I've had the misfortune of having to go to Muslim countries, and the Muslim part isn't what bothers me. They are totalitarian, theocratic regimes, all of them, and you can't just break into Egypt, and hunt people down very easily, at least, or any country over there. And so the bigger story is that this ACE actually has the resources to get this done in Egypt. That's, to me, that's fascinating.
Yeah, and successfully.
That's what I mean. Successfully, yeah. Sure, we can dream about it, but I mean,
if you are at all worried about the idea of international corporate, privately funded investigatory police forces, this story should concern you a little bit. So,
do you not like autocracy?
So, I kind of quickly breeze through this, but let me just kind of read some of these members, right? And get an idea of where the resources come from. Amazon, Apple TV, AMC Networks, BBC Studios, Netflix, Sony Pictures, Disney Motion Pictures, Warner Brothers. That's just a quick reading of the top. So they obviously have deep pockets. Their activities, they're described as driven by a comprehensive approach to addressing privacy through criminal referrals, civil litigation, and cease and desist operations. ACE has achieved many successful global enforcement actions against illegal streaming services and sources of unauthorized content and their operations. Notable successes include shutting down streaming providers OpenLoad and Stream Mango in 2019 and Best IPTV in 2020. And those are probably they probably got some scalp since then, and they obviously got a new bright, shiny scalp just recently.
Yeah, my point is, this is not like somebody hiring Magnum PI to hunt down somebody, who was in a car crash. This is a very, very sophisticated group of people. Amazon, the list of people you read, those are huge, huge, some of the biggest countries in the world, Fortune 100, companies who, have a lot of finances at stake. It's funny, to say, okay, I watched the Redskins game on Streameast, sitting here from my living room. But the truth of the matter is, on a global scale, it costs people, what do you say, 136 million views a month?
Yeah.
That is a ton of money. So I don't blame them for doing it. I just think it's, the story really isn't Streameast got shut down. The story is that this ACE exists, that's a conglomeration of so many assets, companies, and that they are organized and well put together enough to actually do this multiple times.
And probably shutting down things that Americans aren't even aware of, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff overseas,
yeah,
about this that Americans don't know about, and it's a lot more prevalent overseas because Americans, United States is such a first world country. If you go to Mongolia or something, that's, I'm picking on Mongolia, but I mean, illegal streams is how people watch stuff in places like that.
Yeah, and even like
Bobby agrees.
Culture, like just even some of the ideas of piracy and ownership are so vastly legally and culturally different across the globe. It's not even the same construct in a lot of different places. It's the only way people watch stuff is secondhand or piracy or gray markets or whatever. So yeah, totally fascinating. If some screenwriter can actually figure out a good way to make that much of engagement with computers compelling, there's actually a fascinating like crime story here.
You're saying we're going to see the latest feature film about this.
I mean, cybercrime in giants. This is where the giant
Yeah,
scam,
but
dumb
nobody
scams will
got
happen.
shot. There's no like illicit affair that
Well,
that
yeah, that's what I'm
caused the
saying. A
thing to go
compelling
down.
screenwriter will figure out a way to package this.
Hollywood lies
Right. It's
about
not that
each and
hard to
every
put
story.
some romance and drama into something.
Because a lot of these movies are a lot less interesting in real life than Hollywood made them out to be, and this would be one of them.
Yes. So it would be fascinating. But can you imagine, like it'd be like the Avengers, right? We brought together, like the top security nerds from Netflix, Amazon, Apple.
This is the nerd version of superheroes hunting down hackers.
Yeah. See, I've already got 3 ideas. Um,
You don't you where the hog sty is gonna copyright this.
yeah, there you go. You get one like that has like the thick neck thug who's just kind of like a simpleton, but the best friend of the smart guy. Kind of like that dude that protects Nick Sirianni or whatever. So and he's the muscle. So he's like
But the smart guy is the nerd. Yeah, the guy
yes,
really behind it is the nerd.
yeah. So there's all kinds. There's all the kind of things you can do. Um, and then also, any kind of then there's like the jump drive that has all the data that's suddenly being a car chased around. I mean, it's easy to get around. You get to inject some action.
When you get to, we'll have the Fast and Furious guys, parachute Lamborghinis into,
Right, just to get a thumb
Egypt.
drive. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, Streameast, the
So
battle for
long,
Streameast.
Streamies.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to Egypt. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy parts you could have in here. Think about it.
And I just like to say, not because I would use them, but if somebody would care to DM us the name of an alternate source, it just could be useful. That's all I'm saying.
I'm sure. Well, all you gotta do is Google replace Streameast replacement.
I may have to do that.
ChatGPT, what is? All right, Steve. Well, by the time you're all listening to this, the full, you should all be satiated with a full plate of Thursday, Friday, Sunday, Monday football. And I guess the regular season kicks off for the Hogstye as well.
Yeah, we did our first game, game one preview episode this past Thursday. We are fully transitioned into regular season mode, which means, the shows will be, reviewing the game from the week before, previewing the game coming up, and all Washington news, and then all of our regular written content.
Awesome. And we will see you in 2 weeks.